it's Jasmine with the Still Earth Collection. I wanted to talk a little bit today about propagation boxes. These are some really neat little boxes with sphagnum moss that I have been propagating for over 6 months. And these started with tiny little bare node sections of vine that have been popping out with roots and leaves at varying rates. A lot of these are very much still alive, but awfully dormant. And they just kind of pick a day sometimes to sprout. And so I've been taking really good care of them in order to allow the perfect environment for new growth. These are some really neat plants. One of them is a Monstera adansonii, and the other is heartleaf philodendron. And I'll show you a couple of my healthiest little babies that have come from this project here. So here are 9 little pots of the healthiest babies that I have gotten from this propagation project. This is the tallest Monstera adansonii that's got 6, maybe 7 leaves on it. Got a bunch of heartleaf philodendron, more adansonii. It's got one tiny little fenestration on it. And these have been on a long road to get here. So I want to talk a little bit about how we can transfer them from the boxes to their soil environments. So once these little sprouts have gotten tall enough that they're reaching the top of the box and they've got some nice healthy roots, I transfer them over into a cup like this with a dome lid, and maybe only a week or so. This one's not super happy, which is why it's still hanging out in here. They all have different desires to thrive, I guess I would say. Different environments too. So I grab the whole entire little clump of moss that they are attached to. Here's an example. A rooted baby who's got some moss with it. And then I put a pretty chunky soil followed by the clump of moss and some aeroid mixture that kind of helps to hold it in place. And I keep it evenly moist. And eventually when it grows out of that environment, I then transfer it over to a little pot. So, what does it take to get tiny little bare node sections of vine to stay alive in a box for 6 months? That is the question. So when I initially started these boxes, I took some nice healthy Gulbers sphagnum moss. That's Gulbers. It's the best moss I've ever found. When you get it, oftentimes it has a little bit of pink on it. This is a good example of some really healthy sphagnum moss. And it doesn't look gray or like it's ever had any mold on it. This is a really neat example of a box where the moss is actually starting to regrow. So oftentimes there's healthy seeds within the dry sphagnum moss, and it is regrowing, which is so cool. This is the first box I ever started over 6 months ago. I took a couple little cuttings of these plants from a terrarium class that I took, and they have been alive in here for a very long time. So essentially the name of the game is to keep these evenly moist and to give them enough air that they can off-gas. I like to use my little glue gun or something else to poke a hole in the top. Keep them covered most of the time and keep them evenly moist. And then one important thing, every week or two, what I like to do, today is that day with these little babies, is to essentially pretty much drench them. It's not soggy at the bottom, but they're really, really moist so that the roots get a really nice watering. And then I leave them open all night so that it doesn't stay too soggy. Give them a light mist again over the top and close them back up. Again, that's every week or two. Another thing that I did when I started these boxes is I added just a very small amount of fertilizer. Everybody has their own favorite fertilizer, but you want to go really light, maybe 10% of the amount of fertilizer that you would use for normal maintenance. And I do that maybe every 3rd or 5th watering. When I come in and water these boxes, I mist them gently, and then I kind of give a squeeze to the moss, a lot like a sponge, to make sure it's evenly distributed. I'll tip it a little bit and see if there's any water. You can use like a paper towel or something else to sop up that extra moisture, because you definitely don't want standing water in these. And then I come back through and I put all of their lids on. I think one of the most important things that you can do with boxes like this, especially when you're first establishing them and getting a rhythm, is to look at them every single day. They will definitely tell you what they need. If they're starting to look moldy, you can take the parts that are moldy out. You can even add little tidbits of charcoal in these boxes if you want to help prevent the mold. And you just got to look at them every day and ask them what they want. Do they look dry? Do they look a little bit too wet? Do they look like they need some more air? And once you get into a rhythm, then you realize that you have this magical capability of taking dead old plants and making hundreds of new ones. Watch out, it's dangerous. So feel free to leave any questions that you have below. And if there's any certain kinds of videos that you'd like to see me make about propagation or another subject when it comes to houseplant care, drop it in the comments. Take care, everybody, and have a good day.